Welcome to The Voice of Retail. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc. This podcast is brought to you in conjunction with Retail Council of Canada. In this special episode, I'm thrilled to be sharing another excerpt from my The Food Professor podcast with Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Our very special guest for this episode is Richard Scofield, president of the group St-Hubert. We start by asking Rich to assess the health of his brand today versus his ambition for the business. Next, lots of chicken is found in restaurants, but St-Hubert stands above the rest. If we think of serving a good chicken as pretty much table stakes from a strategy point of view in a chicken restaurant, what differentiators does the business have, does he pursue, that contribute to his immense success? We talk about risks to the company, franchise governance, and products coming to grocery shelves across the country near you. Let's jump in now, starting off with my partner, Sylvain Charlebois.
All right, we have a special guest joining us today, Richard Scofield, president of the St-Hubert Group, a franchise that is well known in the eastern part of our country, less known in other parts, but really an institution, especially in Quebec. So welcome, Richard, to our podcast.
Well, thank you for having me. Nice to be here.
To start things off, we'd like to know more about you, your professional journey, and your specific role at St-Hubert.
Sure. So my journey to where I am today was not really a foreseen journey. I did grow up in a restaurant family business. My father had several hotels and several restaurants. He actually was responsible for bringing ribs into Quebec in the 80s. However, he passed away when I was quite young. My mother did keep on a certain family business for a couple of years, and sort of that got into university. And my mother sort of said, "Don't go into the restaurant business; it's too tough. It's difficult business. Do something else." So I was going more on a business journey, more of an accounting path, and. When I left my bachelor degree in London and I came back to Montreal to go to McGill for accounting, I started working back in the restaurant business, my family business, and it sort of drew me in. And so I left the accounting career and went to more of a restaurant management career, and found myself owning two franchises at the age of 24, 25, having my own catering company at 26.
Wow.
And it probably was, the ambitions I had probably got the best of me, and I had to take a step back, and maybe too young, and I let go of these businesses, and I completely left the restaurant business for 3 years, and I tried other things. And then this little classified ad in the newspaper called me into St-Hubert. And I became the manager for the smallest restaurant in the St-Hubert network at that time.
And where was that restaurant?
It was an express restaurant on Sherbrooke East. We call it Honoré Beaugrand, near the Honoré Beaugrand metro station on the island.
Okay.
And that's how I got into the company. And I started managing at one restaurant, and that was in April, May, and by summer's end, I was responsible for the 4 or 5 corporate restaurants, the express restaurants. A year later, I jumped from the restaurant side into the office side, and I became responsible for developing the express concept, which was a very important axe of growth for St-Hubert in the years 2000s, and we grew from about 4 or 5 express up to 45 express restaurants today. And at that point, my objective was to become a franchisee again. I actually had signed my contract and got my financing. I was supposed to open my own express restaurant. And the president at that time said, "Well, you'll do fine, but you're probably going to get bored and want to do more." So he offered me the director of operations. So it took me a while to decide. And I said, okay, well, he was very convincing. And I jumped into that. And I went from director of operations to vice president of operations. And at one point when we had no more president left, I asked Jean-Pierre Léger at that time. I said, before you find somebody else from outside, give me my chance. I was already in and off interim position for the president on the restaurant side. So, and he did. And so that's how I got to where I am today. And the last change was, because we're a group, Saint-Hubert has two divisions. I took over the group president role just a couple of months before COVID in January 2020 as the former president retired. So that's my journey.
So COVID basically is the bulk of your presidency.
Well, for the group part, yes. For the restaurant part, I was there for quite a while, but
yeah, that's right.
Yeah, and the group part, yes, it was a quick learning path.
So, I mean, Saint-Hubert, I travel all over the country, and people are aware of the existence of Saint-Hubert, and it's known, but it's like an incredibly successful chain in Quebec and in the eastern part of Canada. Can you explain to people who've never been to Saint-Hubert what's unique, what's different when you go to Saint-Hubert, when you actually buy products from Saint-Hubert?
Well, Saint-Hubert, it's, we are part of the Recipe family today. Was, our transaction was in 2016, but the company culture that was put in place from the Léger family, the chain opened in 1951, and it became part of a family tradition to go to Saint-Hubert. And we were so close to the everyday life of people in Quebec. And the philosophy of the company was always to give back and always to be to innovate and do the right thing and really show or lead the path in the restaurant business in Quebec and show what can be done, how good business can be done. So as we grew through the years, it became the roasted chicken became a very well-known meal or famous meal in Quebec. And we were not the first ones. There's some great concepts that are still there today. The Chalet Barbecue, Côte Saint-Lake Barbecue, the real pioneers in the 30s that were there. We can think of Laurier Barbecue. This type of product was very close to the desire of Quebecers. So as we grew the business, or as the business grew through the years, the company managed to stay close and connected to its clients, and always try to, show the way. We're the first restaurant chain to do delivery in Canada. And the story behind that was, we opened in the early 50s, and the television also came out in the early 50s. And all of a sudden, Saturday night, the restaurant will be empty because people started watching hockey games at home. So René Léger, the founder, said, well, if they're not coming to the restaurants because they're watching hockey, we're going to deliver the food to them at home. So that's where delivery started with Saint-Hubert. And the first TV ad we did was during the hockey game. So we were one of the first companies to announce on TV for a restaurant, first to deliver. And the story goes, many innovations like that came through the years where we always stayed very connected to our clients, and we're always able to answer their needs, whether today it's the restaurant, whether today it's at home or in grocery stores.
Yeah, and because of your focus on delivery, you were almost like COVID ready. Because you were hardwired to get to your money instead of just waiting for your customers to show up.
For us, at least I say it often. I say, we have many different sales sectors. We have our bar area, we have our dining rooms, our express concept. But takeout, delivery, and drive-through, it's probably what makes us a complicated business, but it's also what makes us a very stable business. And as COVID came in, it's not something we had to develop. It's something we just had to answer the extreme growth we had or demand we had in those sectors.
Yeah, and you've done extremely well throughout COVID as a franchise as well, and of course you're owned now by Recipe Unlimited, and I assume that's going well. The relationship between Saint-Hubert and the head office is going well.
It's been a very good relationship, and I was part of that process when Jean-Pierre Léger had taken a decision that he wanted to move on and guarantee. For him, what was important was to guarantee the perennity of the brand and make sure the brand will continue to represent the core values, and that's what Cara at the time, Recipe today, offered. It says, well, Saint-Hubert, you guys are experts in the Quebec market. You know the Quebec market, so we want you to keep your business as is. And today we still have our 2 offices in Quebec. Our company is still managed with most of the same team. Obviously, in 5 years, natural changes. Some people have left, some people have come on, but the core values of our company are still here and well anchored in Quebec. And Recipe is there to support us and help us grow and go further faster.
Because I remember when Saint-Hubert was acquired, a lot of Quebecers were shocked, but that shock didn't last long. I mean, people just moved on and saw that the company was just basically letting the brand itself on its own, and it didn't really change anything, really.
I mean, that was a huge news story for several weeks.
I know.
And,
people were concerned, right? I mean, people were concerned the same way that when Empire bought Farm Boy out of Ottawa, right? They're like, oh my goodness, are you going to mess it up? Basically, right?
That's what we heard, and that's what people, we got the comments. You change your chicken, you change your sauce, and nothing changed. It's, we evolve our menu as we always did, but the core products that there have always been the same, and when people realize that we're the same brand, the same people running it, that we continue to do the same things. I mean, you look at our foundation that we have, we give back to people. We're very present in the community. Everything is done here, and when people. And we do get the comments once in a while, but I think in general, people, have forgotten it or have let it go and realize that we're still a Quebec-based company, and our franchisees are Quebec entrepreneurs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Absolutely. So, how do you feel about the brand itself today? How do you feel about where your business is going so far since you've been president?
On the restaurant side, and when I took over the presidency on the restaurant side in 2015, we were coming off some difficult years. The restaurant business was evolving. Now it's accelerated, but at that time, dining rooms were decreasing. We started to see the increase in takeout and delivery sales. And we needed to, as a brand, to reinvent a bit the company. And it's we celebrate our 70th anniversary this year. And in 70 years, you get these cycles. And the biggest cycle for Saint-Hubert was at the end of the 80s, when we did our massive expansion in Ontario that did not work for several good and bad reasons. And the company was on the brink of bankruptcy back then, and we had to, they at that time had to reinvent the menu, stream down the menu, and really concentrate on giving back a value to the client. And that's where we evolved and added our restaurant bar areas into our restaurants. And Saint-Hubert has always been known for constantly renovating its restaurants. And when we got into the 2011 years, we started feeling this decline again as, for years, I think we were doing well. People got too comfortable, too complacent. And we sort of had to go back and, re-question what's that value offering we were giving clients. So we relaunched a huge renovation program with some really nice restaurants today that are at a very high level of ambiance and feel. We worked a lot on our menu. We brought back a personal touch into our restaurants where we wanted our franchisees to be able to have a say in what they were offering. So we have a flexible portion of the menu where the franchisees on predefined menu items, but they can choose certain items that they offer in their restaurants each week, which we don't decide. They have a choice on certain microbreweries that they can offer. They have a choice on certain part of the wine list. So I wanted them, or as a team, we wanted them to get closer to the client and connect again and offer a more personal experience and take away the big brand out of Saint-Hubert, where we become a very back attached locally to the community. So as we get out in 2015, the brand really grew strong, and the restaurant position we had was solidified, and we continued a strong growth over the 5 years before COVID hit. On the other side, our retail division, which is a huge portion of what Saint-Hubert is today, took a big growth through the years 2011 up to 2015, where we purchased our second manufacturing plant, and we really launched into the rib market, and and producing our pies. We produce over about 15 million pies a year, and about today
15 million?
15
Wow.
15 million.
That's incredible.
And we're about 6 million units of ribs per year that we produce. And we do, we either manufacture or have manufactured or represent over 300 SKUs in grocery stores. And Recipe, when they came along, they gave us additional brands to work with. So we were able to commercialize, Swiss Chalet products, Montana's products across Canada. We over COVID, we expanded our sales team to cover coast to coast the Canadian market, and we're going, to a strong growth period. Obviously, we have these challenges today, as everybody, on increasing food costs and labor issues and finding products sometimes. And there's some SKUs that we would launch, we just can't get production done right now because there's no capacity left.
Listen, what a story. Couple of quick questions. How many units do you have? How many restaurants do you have? Just to anchor that for the folks.
So we're 125 restaurants. We're 113 in Quebec. We have 8 in Ontario, but Ontario, it's really the extended Quebec region, so very close to the border.
Vanier,
and we have
Vanier,
4 in New Brunswick. Yeah.
And 4 in New Brunswick. Okay, I didn't know about those. I mean, I'm from Ottawa, and you talked about family traditions. One of my earliest memories of going to restaurants is going with my parents to Montreal from Ottawa on a semi-annual kind of trip that my dad would take. And it would always culminate in a trip to Saint-Hubert. So I think very fondly of the brand. I was very, excited to talk to you about it because I think well of it. And from Ottawa, of course, I'd go to the East End and enjoy the restaurant as well. So let's talk about some strategy questions. Now, first of all, my most important strategy question: when you go out to the restaurant to enjoy a meal and you order up a chicken, do you dunk your chicken in the gravy or do you pour the gravy on top?
No, you have to dunk it.
You're a dunker, eh?
Yes.
Yeah, in my family, I'm the only pourer. Sylvain, what about you? Do you pour or do you dunk?
I'm like Richard. I'm a dunker.
Interesting.
Yeah. But the real question at Saint-Hubert is: do you go for the traditional salad or the creamy salad?
The choices are endless. Well, listen. As I think about your business at a strategic level, serving up a good chicken is probably, let's call that table stakes. As you would think. As you think about the business, I mean, it's so many moving parts, both the retail and the wholesale business. What are the differentiators? And they probably change over time. But as you see it today, serving up a great chicken, that's probably, you got to be doing that. Yep. What else, though? And you've talked about the connection with the franchisees. You've talked about all these kind of flexible options. When you set it all apart, what do you see as the key differentiator that makes you sustainably successful?
I think you're right, and I tell my franchisees these days is good food is not enough to make a difference. I mean, everybody's doing a good product is it's a non-negotiable. You have to do it. What I think where we continue to develop or to keep our place is that we try to always give back a bit more and make sure that what we offer the most consistent way. So often, when people are traveling, they see our sign, they know what they're going to get. They know how they're going to be received. They know that we're going to take care of them and that they're going to have a good experience. This being said, we know we're not perfect. We do work 28 million meals a year. We have a very strong franchising network, which is one of our biggest strengths. They follow, the company line. They participate in where we're going. We work closely with them. So they have that buy-in and they make sure that when we decide to launch things, this works. So yes, we have our core products, our chicken and our ribs. And these are products that we have evolved over the last 5-6 years. We increased the size of our chicken. Our ribs, at one point, we had sourcing problems in early 2010, and we had gone to a European rib. This was against our company values, so we had brought it back to Quebec as soon as we could find the proper sourcing.
What about the fries? When I know I remember, who was it? Harvey's had this big dust up maybe a decade ago when they switched fries, and McDonald's and all these. How do you, is that even just the components of the single meal have this tradition versus keeping up with modern tastes? How do you balance those two?
Very carefully.
Right.
So I said, we will increase the size of our chicken. But we won't change it. We won't change the flavor, the spicing. We do the fries. We've tried because our challenge with fries are, it works well in dining rooms, but the perfect fry that delivers in a box or in a bag is very tough.
Very tough.
So we've tried different things, and we get told very quickly that don't touch our fries, don't change. So there's things we're not allowed to do. I see you're offering fish and chips now.
This could be heresy to some people. Fish and chips at St-Hubert. That's wild, right?
This is a great product that we had prepared before COVID, and we launched it during COVID because it was a product that worked well in the plate and in the box. But what we did that was probably, over the last few years that really set us apart is when we started offering lobster promotions, and we started, we had a beef rib with a Joe beef sauce, and we started playing in territories where normally we wouldn't be before. And so we had people coming in for this value or for this sure bet and discovering that, all of a sudden they can have this different experience with these products, and that's what helped us keep our market. Our lobster promotion, I tell this story often, and when we developed the product, I told my chef, don't come back with a $12 product because it's impossible with the cost of lobster. So they came back with a product, a lobster roll, which was an excellent product. Half my staff didn't believe in the product because they didn't say Saint-Hubert can sell lobster, and our franchisees hardly believed in it. So after 3 days, we ran out of product across the network. And today I buy for over $2 million of lobster for that promotion. And Sylvain, I was listening to your report on LCN the other day, the price of lobster. So it's going to be a big challenge for us this year. Yeah. But we're not shy to go and play in areas that were not necessarily there before, as long as we don't touch the core products that we have.
Let's talk about what keeps you up at night. I mean, when I think of your business, I wonder about growth, for example. I mean, as you said earlier in the company history, you tried to expand outside of the Quebec market. Well, you still are. Is growth a challenge for you? And how far can you stretch the brand? Does that keep you up at night? In other words, I go to my grocery store and find your brand. Does it, without your physical store presence, how far can you stretch that brand, and how many products can you go? Are these some of the things that you think before you turn the light out at night?
Oh, we think about a lot of things these days. It's ever increasingly challenging to you position one item and the next day you're already challenged with something else. Growth for us on the restaurant side, we are part of a big family, and in that big family we do have Swiss Chalet. Yeah. So
we're more portfolio strategy for recipe, right? I mean,
well, exactly. Right. And it's also franchisees buy into a brand because they expect the franchisor is going to protect the brand. So I wouldn't be happy to have Swiss Chalets opening beside a Saint-Hubert. I could expect the same from the other. So we work in our Quebec market or extended Quebec market if there are specific regions where there's no, let's say a francophone region or where there's no Swiss Chalet. Maybe that's something we consider. But over
Winnipeg, would you consider Winnipeg's got a nice francophone community? Would you put a Saint-Hubert in places like that? I mean, I guess the problem is it stretches your supply chain.
Exactly. And to do one restaurant that far away, to support it, to do it properly, it's probably too much effort, and it's wouldn't be worth it. Right. If you can't open a critical number of restaurants, I think we're better off to stay where we are and concentrate on what we have. And we do have opportunities but
Richard, I mean, all roads lead to Winnipeg. Seriously.
Oh, man. I'll have to go then. I'll have to go and figure that one out.
Listen, all you got to do is sponsor a Bonspiel and you're there, right? I'll open up
exactly.
Hey, listen, I wanted to compliment, your food products and grocery. I discovered the Saint-Hubert mozzarella cheese sticks, and oh my goodness, we just bought an air fryer. Anyway, I'm waxing on about your product, but the cheese sticks are just like as if you're sitting in the restaurant. So congratulations on your team's development of the product. It's really. Last question from my perspective. You've talked about franchisees. I want to talk about governance a little bit. And not to dig into the governance specifically, but how do you work with you've had franchisees that have been with you for decades, 30 years. So is there a committee, an advisory committee? I mean, you likely don't always agree on everything. How do you resolve those things? Talk just for a minute or two, talk about that.
Our philosophy on franchising, it starts with recruiting. We don't go after people who have money. We go after people who have passion, people who love the business. And we have a lot of franchisees that, that they started in the kitchens at 14 years old, or dishwashers, and they own their restaurant today. Our biggest franchisee is into their third generation, and they were our original franchisee in the 60s, the Quebec City franchisee. Today, we have these franchisees that have been there for 20, 30, 40 years. With some newer franchisees that are bringing in either the new generations or people that have just come on into the brand that mix it up nicely and give us, this drive to continually surpass ourselves. Right. Our success is that we work very close with our franchisees. I mean, I know them all personally. We have meetings, events a couple times a year, and we do work on a franchisee advisory board, which is, piloted by the head office, but each, we have about 8 franchisees that represent territories across a province, and their job is to get feedback from the restaurants. And when we sit down, we go through whatever issues are troubling them. We go through what issues are troubling the franchisor, and then we go through where we're investing our marketing dollars and where we're going as a brand. And no, we don't always agree. And I hope we don't always agree, because if we always agree, it means we're not pushing it far enough. And what I tell my team is, around the table, these 8 franchisees represent maybe 30 to 40% of the number of restaurants, because we have a lot of multi-unit franchisees. And if we present a concept and they say it doesn't work or it's not going to work, maybe there's something behind that we need to listen, because they're on the field. Yeah. So sometimes we go back to the table, we work around, and we'll see, okay, what's bothering them? And when we come back, when we get a buy-in, not everyone agrees, but everyone will support it and go forward. And, 9 times out of 10, it'll work. Sometimes we have to say, well, you know what, that was a mistake. When we pull back, and that transparency we have with them, they believe in us, and, they know that we have, we've got their back, if we can say, and, that we have this great relationship, and that helps us keep going forward.
So, Richard, what's next for the chain? What's next for franchisees?
Well, we have a new mini concept that's coming out, going to allow us to open in some smaller regions we were not before. We just launched a off-premise kitchen called Malgam, which is a kitchen that has a St-Hubert, a Harvey's, and New York Fries, and place for about 3 other banners in the same kitchen for delivery. So we're looking at expanding that.
In Quebec only or elsewhere?
In Quebec only. This is the Quebec version of Ultimate Kitchens. That recipe is launched in Ontario. I believe there are 3 versions of that kitchen right now. So we're working. It's a new concept. We're working around that. So there are opportunities in Quebec, and we're going to continue, renovating our stores and really focusing on that dining room experience and making sure that we respect that value equation that offering to our clients, which is increasingly challenged with labor shortages and food price increases. We're just going to make sure that we get over these next 12 to 18 months, and I hope the markets will stabilize, and we just have to get through that, where the franchises are healthy and the clients get for their money out of that experience.
Listen, Richard, we've unfortunately run out of time, but we want to thank you very much for joining us on the Food Professor podcast. It's a great story, and just so you know, my wife's first job was at a Saint-Hubert many years ago. But she did start her professional career at Saint-Hubert and learned a great deal about having a job, having a boss, and serving customers. And so every time we go back to Quebec, our first stop with the kids, it's at Saint-Hubert. So there you go.
Great to know. Thank you so much.
Well, listen, Richard, thank you very much, and take care.
Well, thank you very much for having me, and it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thanks for tuning into this special episode of The Voice of Retail. If you haven't already, be sure and click and subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so new episodes will land automatically twice a week. And check out my other retail industry media properties, the Remarkable Retail Podcast, Conversations with Commerce Next podcast, and the Food Professor podcast with Dr. Sylvain Charlebois. Last but not least, if you're into barbecue, check out my all-new YouTube barbecue show, Last Request Barbecue, with new episodes each and every week. I'm your host, Michael LeBlanc, president of M.E. LeBlanc Company and Maven Media. And if you're looking for more content or want to chat, follow me on LinkedIn or visit my website at emmyleblanc.co. Have a safe week, everyone.